Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another sloppy, slushy, crunchy video. I'm unfortunately still on my girlfriend's AirPods, so mic quality might be a little bit worse than usual. But yeah, so about a month ago now, Addy reached out to me on Twitter, and since then we've, been talking about the anime and about DMC and things like that. And I actually got him to answer a lot of questions that me and a lot of other people in the community had about this show, and I just wanted to share all that information with you guys today. Unfortunately, I couldn't actually get him on a Discord call for a video to talk about this stuff because of confidentiality and things like that. It's kind of complicated. So what I've done is just take some of the most common questions that we've all been wondering about this show. You can use the timestamps or the little play bar on the video to kind of skip to whichever question you want to hear the answer to. So now with all this new information from talking with Addy lately, I'm going to be, answering some of these questions. So the first thing I wanted to jump into immediately is the topic of, is Ruben Langdon and Dan Southworth going to be coming back to voice Dante and Virgil in this anime? Or is it just going to stay Johnny Young Bosch and Robbie Damon voicing them for the rest of the series? And according to Addy, what he told me, the answer is yes. There are plans to bring back Ruben and Dan to voice their characters, and that makes me super excited. I'm very, very excited for that. He tells me about how he has a plan to bring back these original voice actors and kind of have some type of plot explanation for it. I'm assuming maybe it's going to be a thing where there's a time skip, maybe between seasons, and then we'll see, Ruben and Dan come back to voice their characters. That would be actually sick. Next topic I wanted to touch on is the whole Lady May Cry thing. People have basically been calling the show Lady May Cry kind of as a joke because of how much screen time Lady gets and how it seems like she can get more screen time than Dante himself, even though Dante is supposed to be the main character. And this was one of the major critiques that I had in my video essay that I made last month. And he is aware of the critique and of the issue with season 1. And he tells me that season 2 is way more focused on Dante and Virgil, and they kind of take the center stage more than Lady does, which is really good to hear. From what I understand, the decision to make a Lady kind of more of a central character was done to try to make it easier for the show to appeal to a wider audience instead of just Devil May Cry fans. Now, I don't know if I agree with this decision or if it was the right decision to even make, but that's just what Addy told me, and that's the actual reason. So if you're wondering why Lady gets more screen time, that's why. Addy told me about how there was a lot of pressure to not just make DMC fans like this show, but also make it appeal to a new audience, and how there's a lot of pressure to basically make this show a hit on Netflix, which even though a lot of, more hardcore DMC fans don't like this show, it has performed very well. Personally though, I don't really think this has anything to do with Lady being as much of a central character as she was, and I think if Lady barely got any screen time, it still would have performed this well. But to be fair, I don't really know anything about making a show, but that's just my observation as just an outsider, I guess. But to put everybody at ease though, he is aware of this. He's heard everybody's concerns, and I can announce that season 2 is going to be way more focused on Dante and Virgil, and Lady's going to be taking a back seat. And I don't know this, but I'm guessing that Virgil is going to be probably the main antagonist of season 2. Don't quote me on that. That's just what I'm assuming. We also talked about how there's a lot of inconsistencies with exactly how powerful Dante is in season 1. You'll know this if you watched my video essay or saw any of the memes that I made that got spread around just about these inconsistencies in how strong Dante is. The example I like to bring up is how Dante was able to dodge all of the gunfire from all of the guys with assault rifles, but 5 minutes later when Lady shoots him with that electric taser pistol, he doesn't dodge the bullets and just gets shot by them and falls over. So what Addy was telling me about this is that this was a decision that was more intentional, and Dante's powers kind of being inconsistent was intentional because he hasn't really had any training and his strength and abilities aren't really refined yet. And up to this point, he's kind of just been coasting on raw talent. And how in watching it, you can assume that Dante has only really had to fight lower level demons that never really challenged him, so it never forced him to actually train to get stronger, and because of that, when he fights more powerful enemies, there's inconsistencies in his strength. I'll just read off a text of what he said about that situation in particular with Dante dodging the room full of gunfire from the mercenaries, but then not dodging Lady's bullets. He says, he can dodge a room full of mercenaries in episode 2 because he's a physical prodigy, But when Lady pulls an electric gun on him, she's not just another enemy, she's a mirror. She's someone who exposes his emotional blind spots, and that hesitation, that vulnerability is what gets him caught. Not her aim, but his confusion. What got Dante shot by Lady and made him not really unable to dodge out of the bullets is that he was emotional and kind of like more confused about the situation, and these inconsistencies in his power are more intentional and are supposed to reflect how Dante has never actually done any real training to get stronger. No, I'm not saying whether or not I like agree with this reason or think that this is like a valid reason for that, but this is just what Addy told me. According to Addy though, in season 2, Dante's gonna be forced to not have inconsistencies like this anymore because he's gonna be fighting a lot stronger characters that are gonna force him to grow physically and emotionally to be able to defeat them. So in season 2, we're gonna be seeing less of, strength inconsistencies as Dante grows older, gets stronger, and has to fight more challenging enemies. Speaking of enemies though, I can confirm that Agni and Rudra actually aren't dead and are gonna be coming back later without their heads and look and act more similar to their Devil May Cry 3 appearance. I had asked Addy if there were any cool moments that had to be cut from the show, and he told me about a bit of cut content that unfortunately had to be removed for time. Originally, there was supposed to be more interactions between Echidna and Cavalier, and they were supposed to have more dialogue and interactions with each other and get some more screen time, kind of like how we saw Plasma have his time to shine. They were supposed to have like some more screen time, kind of like how he got. The rest of the Darkcom team were also apparently supposed to have some more dialogue and some more moments, but it also unfortunately had to be cut for time. And Addy also told me that he wishes he had some more time to add some more character beats between each of the mini bosses. And he was planning on having each of the bosses feel more like personalities and characters and not just, boss enemies, which I think was already done in the show. All of the bosses, Plasma, Echidna, Cavalier, they all have their own dialogue, but originally there was supposed to be more of that. There's also one other Easter egg he was going to include, but it had to be cut, and he's going to reuse it later for season 2, which I thought was kind of funny. He also says that there's a lot of Easter eggs and foreshadowing that we actually missed, and they're foreshadows into what's going to be happening later into the series and into season 2. And there's a few pieces of dialogue and background details that nobody has really noticed yet, which is pretty interesting, and it makes me want to go back and watch through it again and see if I missed anything. The last thing I wanted to touch on was this tweet that I put up earlier this month. I said, "I'm done trying to not be too harsh about the anime and make defenses for it. Addy's lack of understanding about the series is disappointing to see. He thinks Virgil is justified in being responsible for millions of deaths in his quest for power, and that Sparta is a traitor." And that was me responding to some tweets that Addy did. Disagree all you want, but Virgil saw what no one else did. Power is the ultimate heroism, and Virgil understood that. He wasn't selfish, he was willing to bear the burden no one else could handle. And he also said, why should the realms be divided? Sparta was a traitor. Mundus is the rightful ruler of both worlds. And yeah, I'm saying Mundus instead of Mundus on purpose so people get mad and comment. And this was him just trolling. And that when he's on social media, he just likes to have fun. So like if you see anything like crazy ridiculous like this, it's most likely him just trolling. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I think I kind of covered mostly everything. If you guys have any other questions of anything I didn't, get to in this video, then leave a comment. I'm sure there's something that I forgot. Huge thanks to Addy for reaching out to me on Twitter. It was great to get, some more insight into the show and why some decisions were made. And this whole thing just got me really excited for season 2. Honestly, I think it's going to be way better than season 1. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Join the Discord, follow me on Twitter, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.